starting on a good note, Big Sky, we are so excited to have you here with us. And what you're building at Pony Finance, I think, is so empowering for people. But before that, I would just love to ask you, what was your introduction to crypto? How did you get involved in this space?
First of all, insanely excited to be talking to the DaoLens team. I see another one of our core contributors from Pony, Pujimak, is on this call as well. So my name is Big Sky. I'm part of the core team at Pony Finance. Been building it for about the last 6 months or so. And just kind of talking about my journey into crypto. I got really involved in DeFi in summer, fall of 2020. Kind of during DeFi summer, I spent, I saw that there was just a tremendous amount of potential. They were building a, really powerful new way of doing finance. And, I got very involved in a couple different communities, from pretty early on, specifically Index Co-op and Badger DAO. I spent about 18 months helping out with Index Co-op before leaving Index Co-op to found Pony Finance, and it's been just a great journey so far.
That is so exciting. I'd love for you to talk about how Pony Finance aims to build a better future with decentralized asset management. I'd love for you to go deeper into the story and the vision of Pony Finance.
Yeah, so when we were starting to launch kind of in March of this year, there were a couple big themes that we really saw emerging across crypto. The first was that we were really entering a multi-chain world where there were going to be a lot of different chains, all kind of leading back to Ethereum, but a lot of different chains existing in their own ecosystems. The second thing we saw that the multi-chain world was kind of full of different stable coins, and there were good stable coins and then there were riskier stable coins, and there was really no way for consumers to kind of parse their risk when it came to stablecoin allocations. So we really wanted to combine these two themes and found Pony Finance in order to bring the best stablecoin yields back to mainnet Ethereum, and alongside that to ensure that we're giving people access to really secure, the best stable coins, right? So we built a methodology that was free of algorithmic stable coins, that was really based around, only offering exposure to fully backed products. And, we're very excited about that.
That's amazing. Buying a token of Pony is like buying a piece of a mutual fund, but of stable coins.
Yeah, that's a really good way of thinking about it. So just to walk everybody through how Pony Finance works is the Pony Index is a single ERC20 token that lives on mainnet Ethereum. What we do is we bridge a number of stablecoin LP tokens from across the entire DeFi ecosystem, whether it's Phantom, Avalanche, Polygon, Optimism, back to mainnet Ethereum. We bundle them in a single ERC20 token, and that token earns between 7 and 10% yield on mainnet Ethereum, which I think is the best stablecoin yield you can get on mainnet Ethereum.
That's amazing. When you say stablecoin yield, what does that exactly mean? Is that return on investment or a rate of interest?
Yeah, so that's the APY that is earned on each of the different stablecoin vaults. That is, generated from users trading the underlying stable coins. So some of the composite vaults we have are, for example, we have a number of beefy vaults. We have vaults from Trader Joe, from QuickSwap, and as those different liquidity pools are interacted with by traders who are trading in and out of them, they earn fees, and those fees are what generates the actual APY of our index.
That's awesome. I've been heavily into investing since the past 3 years, and that's how I got into NFTs. I started with a really small amount in the stock market, and after a year, it ended up being a big amount. and that's how I got my first ever NFT. But I'd love for you to talk about the importance of investing. With inflation on the rise and the really really low interest rates banks are giving us, it's almost like having cash at home where it's depreciating in value every year. Talk about how investing has even become a necessity rather than a luxury.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're entering kind of a new paradigm for how people manage their own investments, how people manage their own savings. And I think that paradigm is driven by a few things. So first of all, based on kind of in current inflation, current themes across the ecosystem, like we're in a very adversarial environment where it's like, you can't expect just to hold cash and come out ahead. Like that's like literally just the worst possible strategy. So you need to be able to invest it in, different avenues that they're going to be able to generate like an actual return. And like this is like really a necessity for people. We're also seeing like investing is very complex, and like not everybody is going to be able to like fully like generate enough alpha to like really beat the market every time, which is where passive investing and like index funds like Pony Index are so powerful and are like able to provide users both exposure to like key themes, for example stablecoin yields, but also abstract away a lot of the complexity from across like the entire ecosystem.
That's awesome. And were you yourself into investing before? Like were you investing in the stock market? Were you buying like crypto? Was it NFTs? How did you jump into investing?
Yeah, I was very, very into kind of like stock market investing from like 2015 to like 2018 or so. I think the thing that like drove me away from like traditional investing is like there's really only so much alpha in public market investing, right? Like there's no real alpha to generate on like an S&P 500 company. Like everything's kind of already known. It's a super efficient market. As I got more and more into DeFi, it was it felt like it was like how finance was always meant to be, right? Like everything was transparent, everything was on chain, but it was like complex enough that like you could you like really needed to dive in and like really figure stuff out to actually get like a reasonable return on investment. So like I thought that was like very, very cool, and I've grown more and more passionate about like the technology over the last couple of years, vice like just pure investing. But I've really enjoyed like every aspect of it.
That's amazing. Also, guys, I just wanted to quickly apologize again that we're not able to share our video this time, but be assured the session is being recorded and it will be uploaded as a podcast, for all of you guys to get the visual experience of it. And Simon, that is just amazing. You mentioned that Pony Finance is a laser DAO and is a first of its kind DAO structure. I would love for you to talk more in detail on that.
Yeah, so like our real intent with launching Pony Finance as a laser DAO was to keep like the organization hyper focused and like hyper like mission oriented, right? I think something we saw a lot with DAOs from like 2020 to 2021 was like they would get like really, really distributed and like focus on a ton of different things. While we wanted to create a DAO that was super focused on doing one thing and doing one thing really well. When it comes to Pony Finance and how it works, as the Pony Index grows, it earns streaming fees, and those streaming fees accrue to the Pony Finance DAO treasury, which is governed by the Pony DAO token itself. That's a incredibly powerful model when you think about really aligning incentives across a number of contributors and really like driving everybody towards like one end goal, which is growing the Pony Index itself.
That's awesome. And is it called an index because like you have index funds, kind of an index?
Yeah, so it's the reason we call it an index is because it's a passively managed portfolio of different LP positions. We work with a world-class methodologist at Scalara, which is the people who design like how we allocate capital across the 7 or 8 different LPs that are part of the actual Pony Index. But it's a great way of like abstracting away some of the complexity of managing, or all of the complexity of managing like a multi-chain, multiple stablecoin vaults across the entire DeFi ecosystem.
Right. And what would you have to say to people who are extremely scared to invest in crypto because they feel like, oh my God, it's just a fad, it's a bubble that's gonna burst, like 6 months, 1 year down the line. Like, what's your perspective on those conversations?
I think part of it is like being really empathetic and understanding that cryptocurrencies and DeFi are very new and very intimidating technology. That you have to there's like a certain level of sophistication that people need to like even interact with these at a basic level. And I think, the first step is like really explaining the technology, what it does, why it's powerful, and then the real long-term benefit of it. And, I think the thing with Pony Finance that's so powerful is like it is fully transparent. You can see every single one of the constituents. You can understand like where every single cent of yield is coming from. You can understand how the system works, and that is incredibly powerful.
That's awesome. And people, when they think of crypto right now, the only safety net they see is Bitcoin and Ethereum. But as I'm sure you know that there are so many other coins which people also claim is stable. So what's your take on that? Very curious to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point, that when people think about crypto, they see it as like there's these two safe haven assets of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but that's not like really the entire ecosystem, right? Because you do have an entire ecosystem of stable coins that are also safe haven assets. And then when you have a product like Pony Finance, you can you literally hold that index and it earns the 10% APY month on month, and like that's extremely powerful when you think of a asset that's not only stable but is also earning a certain return. And like that is like we really see it as like a cornerstone kind of holding for most people's portfolios, is that are building their portfolios that as that interest compounds will just grow more and more powerful over time.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like, recently when I was I was diving deeper into investing and stuff, and I used to think like, oh, you select one thing and you dump all your money into it. And when you're impatient or, the market goes up and down, you could just you could hate investing because, you didn't do it right. But like you said about like managing a portfolio is something which is extremely important, right? Like knowing not to put all your eggs in one basket. And I think that's what makes like investing in like even Pony Finance for that matter really amazing. I often hear this conversation from people when the NFT bull run came, a year ago. People made a lot of money, people lost a lot of money. But how people confuse NFTs with crypto is I feel like NFT is more on investing in a brand, versus crypto is more like investing in technology. So what's your perspective on that, like NFTs versus crypto?
That is a really good question. I think that's the first time somebody's ever asked me that. It's a complicated question. That's like a really complicated question. Because it's like, it really like hones in on what the assets are. Maybe, I guess, okay. So here's how I think about it. And this is probably going to be a roundabout way of answering it, but it might provide some perspective. So when you think about like cryptocurrencies and like let's just narrow it down to like the Ethereum ecosystem, there in my eyes are like 3 or 4 like core primitives that everything else is kind of built around. So the 3 that I think are most important is you have the core primitive of DEXs, you have the core primitive of NFTs, and you have the core primitive of DAOs. And those are like, if you think of the like really big innovations that have happened in the last 3 or 4 years, like those are the 3 that really stand out: DEXs, NFTs, and DAOs. And they each kind of enable a different thing. So DEXs are like really the building blocks of DeFi. DAOs are like the building blocks of like Web3 and like how people are coordinating on the internet in 2022. And then NFTs are like pointers to other kinds of data, and they allow you to own other kinds of data in a way that wasn't possible before. in like in Web 2.0. So I think like when I'm thinking about like, oh, do I hold NFTs? Do I hold DeFi? It's like they're kind of the same. They're not the same thing, but it's like it's not necessarily a binary. I think it's something that people like balance and are able to like understand like what those different assets are, like what those different technologies are, and that like they're both like core technologies, but just in their own way.
Right. You mentioned this thing called DEXs. It's the first time I am hearing about it. What exactly is DEXs?
I meant like decentralized exchanges, like an AMM, like
I
Uniswap or
see.
Uniswap V3.
Like
As
Binance?
like, cause like when like Binance,
Mm-hmm.
no, like a, a pancake swap on Binance would be the equivalent of like an AMM on Binance.
Interesting.
So it's like the core innovation there is the ability to swap assets on chain, which is what like Uniswap pioneered, and then a number of other decentralized exchanges like Trader Joe, QuickSwap, SpookySwap, PancakeSwap, all kind of followed along and like provided their own twist on, or SushiSwap.
Right. Got it. What would you say are some of the pain points you're facing today in context to onboarding and contribution? Like you said, Pony Finance is a laser DAO.
I think our biggest pain point right now is like this is very much like the bottom of the bear market, and like when that happens, like the only people who really stick around are like the true believers, right? And um, you don't need more than the true believers to build, but like it definitely like it forces you to like really hone in and like really grow your product and like really focus on like what the drivers are, because like all the like white noise that comes from like the bull market is not there.
Right. And from your entire contribution process to people floating a proposal, having discussions, treasury management, doing so many different tasks, it is extremely complicated for a DAO. So, what does your day to day management look like? Is it too sporadic?
Well, first of all, if it's able to, we'd love to invite Pujimak himself up to the stage because he is the one that does basically all of that for us and is like one of the best DAO managers in the world. So I don't know if Pujimak wants to join us, but that would be awesome. Uh,
Pujima, do you
but
have access to your speaker? Can you unmute yourself?
Hello. Hi.
Perfect. Hi.
Sorry, what was the question again? Apologies.
The question was in terms of like DAO management. Right now, DAOs are a little complicated. Like you have to do like a bunch of things, go on all these different platforms, whether it's voting systems, discussions, treasury management, and stuff like that. How are you guys doing it on a day to day basis, like internally?
So, I mean, I think, when talking about DAO, like that is definitely one of the pain points, right? But I think, the beauty of Pony Finance is the concept of laser DAO. And basically what that means is, trying to optimize little DAO tooling and really use that tooling as much as possible, integrate it with Discord as much as possible, and so forth. So the idea of like currently like in Pony Finance, our governance, we are using Tally in terms of the voting stuff like that, but because it's still relatively a new DAO, so we are looking at project management tools that is able to basically, as much of project management tools like Notion, but like or other tools like that. How can we integrate fully with Discord? So the key is being lean in terms of DAO tooling and utilizing it as much as possible for our Discord, because in the end, the Discord will be the source of community engagement for our DAO. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say are some of the pain points you're struggling with in terms of DAO management, right? Like you mentioned Discord. I'm sure you have Discourse, Snapshot, task management tool, treasury, like 5 steps for like one thing. So internally, right now, you guys are doing it on Discord?
So I think you have DAO discussions, right? Like traditionally or during the DAO 1.0 in the 2020s, 2021, usually they would use a discourse forum platform where all the discussion on that. What the idea that we want to do for Pony Finance is having all important discussion right in the Discord by utilizing the thread, by utilizing gatekeeping mechanism and so on and so forth. So it's more leveraging the platform as much as possible rather than going through another platform which can cause some segregation and fragmentation in terms of the user interaction, stuff like that.
Right. And you again mentioned like it's a laser DAO. How would you explain a laser DAO to someone who's extremely new in the space? Like, how is it different from like a regular DAO?
I'll just add my input. Maybe Simon can add, Bitsky can add more info. But essentially, laser DAO, our sole focus is just growing our one and only product, which is the Pony Index. Mm-hmm. So all of the contribution, all of the notion of the DAO itself is just to grow that product, basically. So, Bitsky, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, pretty much crushed it. That's pretty much sums it up. When I think of the laser DAO, it's hyper focus. I'm also seeing a question in the chat about Terra stablecoins. What stablecoins are being considered for investing in Pony Finance? So we have a full risk score for our actual for the index or the stablecoins that are considered. We don't include any algorithmic stablecoins, so it's only fully backed stablecoins like DAI, USDC, USDT, and then we evaluate the different vaults that we include based on what the protocol is, whether they've been audited, and have a full safety score for every single token or LP token that's included in our index.
That's awesome. And what does your onboarding process look like for people to join your DAO? Are they joining in through Discord, or are they joining in by buying the Pony token?
So I'll just take this one quickly. So currently, we are still finalizing a proper onboarding process, but as of the current process is that people joining our Discord. They would join in our weekly community calls where we will provide updates on what's been going on, and from there we would slowly put them into the fields that they're interested. But again, because the DAO itself, we just started to really take shape recently, so we are still finalizing on the structure of how we're going to move forward from this.
I see. Thank you so much for taking that off. And Bitsky, I would love to ask you, what's your why in being in crypto? Why not just finance in general? Why not just tech in general? Why crypto?
Because crypto is literally the most challenging, mentally engaging, enjoyable activity a human being can do in the 21st century. I find it incredibly stimulating. I find it there's so many different challenges. They're so unique. They're so disparate. I think it's just super, super powerful. I love working in it. I meet incredibly passionate, devoted people who just blow me away with how smart they are all the time. Some of my best friends come from crypto. Pujamak and I have been working together for a year at this point. We're incredibly close. There's a number of people that I really respect that I'm got to know through crypto, and I can't imagine working anywhere else.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for answering that. And what would you say is the vision behind Pony Finance, 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, or even 5 years down the line?
My vision is I want us to be one of the biggest stablecoin pairs in all of crypto within the next year. I would love to see us be really seen as a very, very good place for people to hold their stable coins, for people to diversify their portfolio into. And I also want us to just like continually make the product better and better. I don't think there's any reason why like the APY can't get up to, 12%, 14%. And that's like super, super compelling and super competitive. And then I also just want us to build, the absolute best community in DeFi.
That's amazing. And in terms of like building a community, how has your community strategy been? Has it been difficult to educate people about DeFi, educate them about Pony Finance in general? How have you been doing that?
I would say we're hitting the ground running. We've been super aggressive with it. We've been really trying to get in front of it. We've been like doing AMAs every single week. We've been doing conversations every single week, and we're trying to like 10x, 100x that, because it's like at the end of the day, I think like the way you make a DeFi protocol take off is you just got to put a ton of hustle behind it. You have to like really like get down in the weeds and just talk to as many people as possible and really evangelize the product. And like that is what we are doing every single day right now.
That's awesome. Well, best and best of luck to you to do that. I am such a firm believer in why people need to start investing and build a financially secure future for themselves. And I think what you guys are building is completely like amazing. On the last note, I would just love for you to share one piece of advice for someone to learn better about like Web3 and leverage this place for themselves.
I think the best piece of advice is to like not stop learning and like continue to have fun. I think there's so much to learn that like you really have to like just embrace being a student at all times, and like you never know everything, and that's okay. And like that's kind of the part of the fun of it. And I think the people who are really successful in crypto are the ones who like remain super, super curious and are like very willing to go down different rabbit holes and like spend time like really, really diving in. And like that's what makes people really successful. And it's like I think people go wrong in crypto when they stop learning and when they start to shy away from that.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Well, Big Sky, thank you so much for doing this. It was such a pleasure to host you. I apologize that we had some technical glitches in the beginning, but thanks for being just such an amazing support and having like such a good vibe. Such a pleasure to chat with you. We've recorded this session. Everyone, please look forward to the visual podcast dropping very soon. Thank you all so much for joining. See you for the next one. Thank you, Big Sky. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Awesome to talk. And Pujamak, thanks for joining as well. I really appreciate you guys having me on. And, we're going to beat this bear market together.
Yes, totally. Pujamak, thank you so much for your valuable inputs. Super grateful you could join and share. Bye, everyone. Have a nice rest of the day.